I don't care who your mother is. You're finished here. Mr. Chen, I'm expelling you. Effective immediately. Marcus Williams stood motionless in front of Principal Gerald Davenport's oak desk, his backpack strap still clutched in his left hand. The backpack he'd carried to school every day for 2 years. The backpack that now felt like it contained his entire life, about to be thrown away. For what? Marcus's voice came out steadier than he felt. I haven't done anything wrong. Assault. Davenport smiled the way a cat smiles at a cornered mouse. We have witness statements. 3 of them. I didn't touch him. He pushed me first. That's not what Tyler said. Then, they're lying. Davenport leaned back in his leather chair, the same chair his father had sat in 50 years ago when he attended this school. The Davenport family had built Jefferson Hills Preparatory Academy with old money and older secrets. Mr. Chen, let me explain something to you. The principal folded his hands. This is a prestigious institution. We have standards. Behavior standards. Academic standards. And when he looked at Marcus the way someone looks at a stain on a fine rug. When someone doesn't meet those standards, there are consequences. 3 weeks ago, Marcus Williams had walked through those marble doors like he still had a future. Now, he was about to walk out with nothing. Jefferson Hills Preparatory Academy sat in the heart of one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in America. The kind of place where the houses had names instead of numbers, where the cars in the student parking lot cost more than most houses. The school smelled like old money and new ambition. Gold-accented hallways stretched in both directions, marble floors echoing every footstep like a cathedral. Portraits of donors lined the walls, men and women who'd built empires and expected their children to inherit them. Marcus was one of only 3 black students in the entire school. That fact had never bothered him before. He was here on merit, a full scholarship based on test scores that shattered every record the school had ever seen. He'd walked through those doors because he'd earned it. Because his mother had worked 16-hour days for 10 straight years so he could have a future. Dr. Ray Chen Williams was a night shift nurse at Grady Memorial Hospital and a day shift administrator at a private clinic. She'd immigrated from Guangzhou, China 20 years ago, pregnant with Marcus and speaking no English. She'd worked her way through nursing school, missed her own graduation to cover an extra shift, and never, not once in 20 years, had she taken a single day off. Her hands were always cracked, always aching. She never complained. Marcus had taught himself calculus at age 12. At 14, he'd published a research paper on quantum computing that made MIT professors take notice. Anonymously, under a handle no one knew. He was just a kid in a scholarship seat, waiting to finish high school the normal way. But normal wasn't in the cards. 3 days ago, Tyler Burns had shoved Marcus in the hallway. Tyler was the star quarterback, white, wealthy, his father on the school board, his grandfather's name on the building. He'd been in 4 fights before. None of them had been punished. The system worked that way. It worked for people like Tyler. It worked against people like Marcus. In the hallway that day, Tyler had shoved him into the lockers. Watch where you're going, scholarship boy. Marcus hadn't pushed back. He'd stood there, hands at his sides, and walked away. But Tyler needed a story. Tyler needed to be the victim. And when Tyler Burns needed something, the system provided it. 2 white students, Tyler's friends, his teammates, witnessed Marcus attack Tyler. There was no video. The cameras in that hallway weren't working, just like they'd not been working for the 3 other black students expelled in the past 5 years. Principal Davenport investigated for 24 hours. Expelled Marcus in 12. Multiple witnesses corroborate the story, Davenport said now, spreading his hands like he was being reasonable. They're all his friends, Marcus said. They're lying. You're free to appeal. Through the board. The board. Controlled by Tyler's father, Richard Burns, the same board that would review evidence and make a final determination. The same board that had never once overturned a decision from the Davenport family in 60 years. Marcus stared at the man in front of him. 50 years ago, Davenport's father had sat in this same chair. The same smile, the same justification, the same message. You don't belong here. You never did. The decision is final, Mr. Chen. Davenport picked up a folder from his desk, began shuffling through papers. You may collect your belongings. I'd suggest you leave the premises immediately to avoid any further complications. Marcus didn't move. Is there a problem? My mother is on her way. Marcus's voice was calm, steady, the same dignity his mother had given him. She'll want to speak with you personally. Davenport's smile flickered. Just for a second. I don't have time for her. She'll make time for you. Dr. Ray Chen Williams had just finished a 12-hour night shift when she got the call. She was still in her nursing uniform, light blue scrubs, a faint smell of antiseptic, exhaustion carved into every line of her face. She'd worked 12 hours on her feet, held a dying man's hand while his family arrived, swallowed her own grief because that's what nurses did. Then her phone rang. Mrs. Williams, this is Jefferson Hills Preparatory. We need you to come in regarding your son. She didn't ask questions. She drove straight to the school, still in uniform, still exhausted, still carrying the weight of every shift she'd ever worked. She walked into Davenport's office and stood there, and the principal who'd been so confident with Marcus suddenly looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Chen. It's Williams. Her voice was quiet, calm. The voice of a woman who'd swallowed worse than this. My son is Williams. I kept my maiden name. Right, Mrs. Williams. Your son has been expelled for. I know what my son was expelled for. She looked at Davenport the way she'd looked at death in the Ikkyo. Steady, unafraid, prepared. My son did not assault anyone. He's never been in a fight in his life. The evidence. My son has a 4.0 GPA. He's in the gifted program. Every teacher loves him. She took one step forward. You know the difference between my son and that boy's father who's on your board? My son earned everything he has. Your board bought theirs. Davenport's face reddened. The decision is final. Dr. Ray Chen Williams looked him dead in the eyes. You'll regret this. Marcus was escorted out of Jefferson Hills Preparatory Academy at 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. Students watched from classroom windows. Most didn't care. Tyler's friends laughed from the courtyard. Marcus Williams walked with his head held high. He didn't look back. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just walked. And somewhere in Washington, D.C., 3 government agents were about to learn his real name. I want you to understand something, Mrs. Williams. I will fight for my son until there's nothing left. Dr. Ray Chen Williams sat in a small law office in downtown Atlanta, across from a man named Kenneth Washington. Not the city. The man. Kenneth Washington, Esq. Civil rights attorney, 40 years of experience, a name that made school boards nervous. He was taking the case pro bono. Mr. Washington pulled up Marcus's school records on his laptop. Every grade, every teacher comment, every standardized test score. Perfect, he murmured. Absolutely perfect. 4.0 GPA, perfect behavior, not a single disciplinary mark in 2 years. Tyler Burns has been in 4 fights, Dr. Ray said. I looked it up. I know. Mr. Washington's jaw tightened. I also found something interesting. He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen, expulsion records. 3 other black students in the past 5 years, all expelled for violence, all cases with the same pattern. White student accused. Black student punished. No evidence. No video. No appeal that ever worked. I can build a pattern, Mr. Washington said. It's not just one bad principle. It's a system. Dr. Ray looked at the screen. Her son wasn't the first. He wouldn't be the last. Unless someone stopped it. Then, let's stop it. The appeal was denied in 48 hours. The board has reviewed the evidence and found insufficient grounds to overturn the expulsion decision. Insufficient grounds. The same words they'd used on 3 other families, the same silence that had buried every complaint for 50 years. But Kenneth Washington wasn't done. The federal level, he told Dr. Ray. The Department of Education has a complaint portal. And I know someone at the FBI who owes me a favor. What kind of favor? The kind that gets things looked at. 3 years ago, an anonymous hacker had breached the FBI's unbreakable encryption system. Not to steal, not to sell, just to prove it could be done. The signature left behind, Phoenix rises. The FBI had spent 3 years searching, the best cybersecurity experts in the country, chasing a ghost, a phantom that slipped through every firewall, every trap they'd set. They finally traced it to a specific IP address, a specific school, Jefferson Hills Preparatory Academy. They knew someone at that school was Phoenix Code. They just didn't know who. 2 FBI agents walked into Principal Davenport's office on a Tuesday morning. Mr. Davenport, the senior agent, said, badge in hand, we're looking for Marcus Chen, also known by an online handle. Phoenix Code. Davenport went pale. I'm sorry, who? Mr. Chen, 16 years old, a student here until 3 days ago. The agent paused. You expelled him. There was a suspension. An assault investigation. For assaulting Tyler Burns? Yes. Yes, we're cooperating fully. We need his file. And Tyler's file. Also the files of everyone involved in his expulsion. Davenport's hand trembled as he pulled open the cabinet. Tyler Burns was brought to the principal's office 20 minutes later. He walked in confidence. Smirk. The same smirk his father wore in the portrait hanging in the school lobby. Yeah, he said. Arms crossed, he attacked me. I can press charges too. The senior agent studied him. Mr. Burns, your father is Richard Burns, correct? CEO of Burns Defense Systems? Yeah, my old man's got connections. You can't touch me. I don't doubt it. The agent pulled out a folder. Your father's company submitted a federal contract last year. For defense technology, top secret clearance. Tyler's smirk faded. We have a warrant for his records. And yours. The agent looked at him. For potential security violations. Tyler looked at the portrait of his father on the wall. The same confident smile, the same certainty that the world belonged to him. But his hands were shaking now. We need to talk about what really happened in that hallway, Mr. Burns. In the interrogation room, Tyler broke faster than anyone expected. He pushed me first, Tyler said, staring at the table. In the hallway. I shoved him back. He didn't do anything. And the witnesses? They're my friends. My dad told me to handle it. Make it stick. There was something in Marcus's school records. Some paper he published. My dad said if people found out who Phoenix Code was, it could be useful, scary, for leverage. Explain. My dad's company, they do defense contracts. If they could prove a kid broke into the FBI, they could get more contracts, fixing the problem. But Marcus wouldn't play along. He wouldn't talk to anyone. My dad said, make him disappear. Kenneth Washington sat in the observation room, listening. Beside him, Dr. Ray Chen Williams had never stopped crying. They used my son, she whispered. They tried to destroy my son. For a contract. Mr. Washington's hand found her shoulder. Not anymore. The investigation uncovered what the system had hidden for 50 years. Richard Burns, CEO of Burns Defense Systems, had been funneling classified defense secrets through the school board. The board was a cover. The donations were bribes, and Tyler Burns's victims weren't random. They were children. Children of witnesses, children of journalists investigating the company. This wasn't about race. Race was just the mask. Underneath, it was about cover-up. Richard Burns was arrested at his estate, 25 years minimum. Tyler Burns faced juvenile charges, 18 months in a facility for minors, the same facility where he'd once expected other kids to end up. His father's company collapsed. The contracts were revoked. The entire defense portfolio was under federal investigation. Principal Gerald Davenport was fired before the end of the week. The FBI found records, every expulsion, every complaint, every check cashed from the Burns family. Davenport hadn't just been racist, he'd been bought. Superintendent Margaret Ellis walked into his office on a Friday morning. "Gerald, you're suspended." Immediately. "This is a mistake." "I can explain." "Your office, your files, your explanations are done." He was escorted out of the building he'd walked into every day for 30 years. Students watched from the windows. He didn't look up. Marcus Williams's expulsion was overturned in 72 hours. His record was cleared, his GPA restored. In federal court, Dr. Ray Chen Williams won $1.2 million in damages. She didn't keep a penny. "Start a scholarship fund," she told Mr. Washington, "for kids like my son, kids the system forgets." Today, where they are now. Marcus Williams graduated from MIT at age 16. Full scholarship. He's 20 now, working on AI safety protocols for the FBI, the same agency that once chased him. Dr. Ray Chen Williams retired from nursing last year. She now teaches at a community college in Atlanta, training the next generation of nurses. Her hands finally rest. 3 other students who were expelled got their records cleared. 2 of them are in college now. The school has a new principal, new policies, federal oversight. And somewhere in a server farm in Virginia, a new message appears on the FBI's test system. If you were standing in that hallway watching Marcus get escorted out that door, would you have spoken up? Drop your answer in the comments. Like if this story hit you somewhere. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about standing up when the system tries to put you down. Because here's the truth Marcus Williams understood at 16. You don't need a title. You don't need connections. You don't need old money. You just need the truth. And sometimes the truth is the most powerful weapon there is.